Rush, Southall and Heath. But this was the corner that could have brought Everton the first goal. Heath indeed was on the end of it, but Hansen got there first. Southall's saves from Rush will be remembered there. So will the two more controversial incidents as the players go off. Kevin MacDonald there on crutches, Craig Johnston, the man himself, Ian Rush, and a relieved Bruce Grobbelaar at the end, with a half-time score here of Everton 0, Liverpool 0.
Well, let's get straight into those controversial incidents. The first time when Everton thought they should have had a penalty on the edge of the penalty area there. Now, we'll have a look at that again. You haven't seen it yet. The ball, I think, comes through there to Heath from Harper. There's the ball. He's moving through on the ball there. Now, the question is one of intent. The dummy is there. Did he bring him down? Was it intent? I have to say, at this point of time, that I do think it was a penalty. I shall ask my friend on my right, Trevor Brooking, whether you think it was too.
Yeah, no, I think it was a penalty. Mark Lawrenson's tried to get in front of Adrian Heath to intercept it, and Adrian Heath's done a little bit like Rushy did earlier, rode him round, going to let the ball run, and he's just clipped his heel. Alan Harper, actually, a lot of composure here, turns inside, and I think something he's got to do more in the second half. Plays it through, and Adrian's going to let it run, and Mark Lawrenson nips in, and his actual left foot, his standing foot, clips his heel. I mean, a lot of people say, well, there wasn't any danger anyway, he's only going to get to the byline.
Was he going for the ball, is what the referee is trying to decide?
Mark Lawrenson was going to try and intercept the ball, yes. I would have said a penalty.
You would, so even though his intention was to play the ball and he played the man?
Yes.
One of those dividing lines.
Yeah, I mean, it is arguable. I think it balanced out, because
yes.
I think, funnily enough, Ian Rush's chance earlier, I think I would have allowed that one as well.
Yeah.
You know.
What about the, no, well, we can look at it now. This, the moment when Liverpool thought they were hard done by, Rush does extremely well to get up here and getting contention, really, for a difficult ball. There it is, coming to him now. Now, the question there is, was Rush within playing distance of that ball at the moment that it came across the face of him and the defender? That is what the referee was having to decide there, and he judged that he wasn't within playing distance, I think, and so it was a foul obstruction. Again,
Derek Mountfield's tried to get in front of Ian Rush. I think, you know, you've got to say Ian Rush, all right, he's used his weight a little bit, but then surely you've not got to give the defender too much protection. I think that's part of the game. He's turned very well and hit a good shot, and I would have allowed that one as well, although, you know, George Courtney is a very experienced referee, and he's only got a split second to make the decision.
In other words,
that's just in case we see George afterwards, Jim.
You'd like to score 1-1 at this point, and I think a lot of people would. But there has been plenty of incident. I wouldn't go with you on that one. I thought that he judged quite correctly that Rush wasn't quite within playing distance of that ball, and even leads back.
I think physical contact's part of the game, though, myself. You know, I think we've got to give a little bit of advantage to forwards because, you know, it wasn't a blatant foul, and we want to see goals in matches.
Indeed we do. And in these matches, of course, the referees generally, certainly the ones that have been on television, have allowed the game to flow when we've been watching.
That's right.
Let's have a look at what I thought was the best move of the first half now. That was came from Everton and proved that even under difficult windy conditions, it is possible to keep the ball on the floor and keep possession. Nice little touches coming from there. Sharp plays more of a role in midfield than his opposite number Rush at the other end. But this is Paul Power here, who Laurie was talking about before the game, steaming up on the far side on his trusty old left foot. A good cross. I think you get about 7 or 8 passes there. And there's Heath popping up, not for the first time in that first half, into that position and almost making Grobbelaar make a save.
It was a good move. In fact, Everton, first 10 or 15 minutes, I think, settled down the better of the two. And then really, as the game progressed, the Liverpool came more and more into it, and Ian Rush's pace is no doubt giving them problems through the middle.
You liked the Ian Rush play altogether, don't you? I mean, like Laurie, you are a fan. You think he is such a dangerous player.
Well, he's so lightning quick. I mean, Kevin Ratcliffe at the back for Everton, he's a very fast lad. But in fact, they're playing Rushy on Mountfield and push Paul Walsh more towards the right on Paul Power, trying to expose his pace. But Liverpool today are playing more of a longer ball game, trying to utilise the pace of the two front lads.
And they've succeeded, of course, and it was only Neville Southall at that point who stood between them and a goal.
Well, that's right. Neville, I mean, certainly good to see him back in Everton's goal. Ronnie Whelan clips it through here. Myself, I think Ian Rush's first touch just let him down a bit. You see, he's had to go wide there. It just gave time. In fact, he didn't hit the first shot well either, but Neville did very well. But I think if his first touch would have brought him down into the centre of the goal, then it would have been 1-0. Clip back in, and Neville Southall, just to prove the old legs are back working well again, holds on to that one very well. But
Nice.
I think the first touch for Ian Rush just pushed him a little bit wide.
We do ask for extremely high standards from referees and players when it comes to those inches that are available in the penalty area.
Well, that's right. I mean, you know, in this sort of game, chances are going to be very minimal. And so, I mean, I think the longer the game goes on, the harder it is going to be to break the defences down, really.
Well, we've seen so much of the game on the field. We have, or hoping in a moment, to have an interview with Phil Carter, the president of the Football League, to talk about the problem of hooliganism. There's no really doubt in our minds, and except about the fact that the government and the Football League can't make up their minds as how best to combat it. And at the moment, until we get Phil Carter, I'd like to ask you, Trevor, what do you think? Are you perplexed because of the disagreement between the government and the league on this issue?
Well, the big issue is the membership scheme, isn't it, really? I think Luton have worked theirs very well, and it'd be interesting to see at the end of the season. But I think if you're going to have a membership scheme, it's got to be national, so as, you know, people can visit. I can't have the Luton system where visiting supporters aren't allowed in the ground. Well,
That's what the government say. Let's hear now what the president of the league, Phil Carter, says, talking to Bob Wilson.
Mr. Carter, it's lovely to see 46,000 fans here, many of them intermingled. But the problem of hooliganism is not yet cured, and I know there's a wider audience watching today who are a little confused that the government and the league seem still to be at loggerheads. Can you explain that situation?
Yes, I think it's slightly unfortunate in point of fact, because what the league has done in response to the government's initiative is to put forward a 20-point proposal plan. Now, our attitude, quite simply, is that in consultation with the police, the PFA, that's the Players Association, the FA, and everybody connected with football, we feel very strongly that the introduction of a 100% membership scheme will be counterproductive as far as hooliganism is concerned. The police, naturally, are very concerned about controlling large crowds outside the grounds.
You're not saying that the Luton scheme is wrong for Luton, but you're saying that it possibly wouldn't work for you or Manchester United or Liverpool.
I think that's it exactly, you see. We've gone along with the Luton scheme and delighted to do so to see how it works for them. And it's quite interesting. We've seen an interim report this week from Leicester University which states very strongly that they think that the Luton scheme is very good for Luton because of their previous problems, but they're not necessarily advocating it for other clubs.
You also believe that the hooliganism problem is well, it's improving, isn't it?
Well, I think this is the difficult thing we all have to counter with, because as soon as you start to say it's getting better, something will flare up or will be accused of being complacent, and that isn't the case at all. The police and ourselves are extremely anxious to stamp out this problem because it's affecting hooligans. And if I may just correct you slightly, Bob, it's actually 48,000 here today, which is an absolute record for the season so far.
That's wonderful. And there's just one point that does appear to be perhaps a veiled threat from the government, that they might say you have got to impose a full membership scheme.
Well, I think that would be very unfortunate, because if the government had to introduce legislation to enforce a membership scheme against the wishes of so many people in football and the police and the FA and everybody else concerned, then that again would seem to be counterproductive, because unfortunately under those circumstances the government would then be responsible for anything that went wrong afterwards.
Mr. Carter, thanks very much. There goes the bell. You're enjoying it, aren't you?
I am. Pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I'm enjoying it too, especially to learn there are 48,000 people in the ground, because that won't take so much money out of the compensation fund for television. Trevor, what do you think is going to happen in the second half?
well, I think Howard Kendall possibly would have to be talking a little bit harder than Kenny Dalglish, because the last half an hour at Liverpool I felt were the better side. And if anything, I mean, to play down the middle is playing into Liverpool's strengths with three centre-backs. So I think they've got to try and encourage Paul Power and Alan Harper, the two full-backs, to get forward in wide positions. I prefer myself to see Trevor Steven in a wider position than more central as he's playing today, because I think down the flanks is the position, getting in crosses, that perhaps they might cause Liverpool problems. If they don't do that, then I think Liverpool might dominate the second half again.
Liverpool at this point in the Championship race have got their experienced players, more of them, than Everton. I mean, they really are struggling with inexperienced players, aren't they? They're coming out now. I mean, those are all probably first choice, whoever's fit, aren't they?
Yes, I think one area, I mean, we've spoken about the two fullbacks, Gary Stevens, Pat Vandenhauwe, who aren't playing, but I think Alan Harper and Paul Power have done very well this season. Possibly midfield, Peter Reid, Paul Bracewell, they're two very influential players, and I think they're missing them more than anything.
Are you taking this reserve side that they've got out today to beat Liverpool still?
Well, I still think I'll sit on the fence, but it's going to be very difficult for either side to get the breakthrough, and certainly chances such as Ian Rush they can't allow them in the second half.
Well, we shall see and listen with joy to Laurie McMenemy and match commentator John Watson.